Hello Eorzeans, I'm the Keel Bravestone, self-proclaimed 1.0 archaeologist extraordinaire. Welcome to Remnants of the Realm. In the previous episode we looked back at guild leaves and behests, two key gameplay elements of 1.0. In this episode we're also covering a pretty major system as well, so stay tuned until the end for that one. First on our tour we're headed to Coerthas' central Lowlands. This was its own region located right below the Central Highlands, connected via the Hall of the Seven Echoes, a narrow loading tunnel. The Central Lowlands was a fairly large region with its own camp, Camp Ever Lake, and its ethereal gates, Terrigan Stand, Shepard Peak, and Fellwood. It was also where the instance dungeon Aurum Vale was located. So let's look at some specific areas, and we'll naturally start with Camp Ever Lakes. This camp was located in the Ever Lakes area from which it drew its name. The camp was mostly visited to unlock the region's main attraction, Aurum Vale, which was located just a few miles from the camp. The camp's 3 ethereal gates ensured the entire region could be explored relatively quickly. One of these ethereal gates was Terrigan's Stand. This ethereal gate's name's origin is unknown. We don't really know who Terrigan is or what he did, but both the English and the Japanese name suggests it was war-related. The gate was located in a very mountainous area close to Camp Ever Lakes. Other than the massive mountains surrounding the area, there really wasn't much to look at here, as the gate served as a faction leave quest location. It's worth mentioning that Coerthas never saw proper leaves being implemented, only faction leave quests would ever take place here. Make sure you've watched the previous episode for a full explanation of that system. And I just have to point out that this was the music that played during a faction leave quest. This theme was obviously reused in A Realm Reborn for something entirely different. Shepard Peak was an ethereal gate located in the middle of the map. The name Shepard Peak comes from the mountain of the same name right here. The mountain guarded Yew Lake to the west and Ram Lake to the east. Once again, this location was underdeveloped in 1.0 and saw no additions other than being a faction leave quest location. So while it was a great place to explore and grind EXP, there really wasn't much to look at. But one thing that will always haunt me is the music that played in this zone while you walked around aimlessly, terrified of being attacked by whatever level 70 monster was lurking in the many valleys. Fellwood was the last and southernmost ethereal gate in the region. It actually featured a landmark of its own, the Timberlord's Lodge. Even though the name suggests that there was only one lodge, it was actually a collection of shelters and lean-tos and lodges for sheltering the wood that was being processed in the area, as well as to shelter the craftsmen who worked with the wood. The Timberlord's Lodge processed the timber and shipped it off to Ishgard. Well, as you can see, there are the lodges are basically copy-pasted. It's just the same asset repeated everywhere, but 1.0... I guess the really creepy thing about this area was that despite having loads of half-finished timber lying around, there was never a single NPC in this location. If you were to encounter a monster in this area though, this was the music you'd be hearing. After the calamity, the central lowlands were cut out of the map, and Hall of the Seven Echoes now skips the lowlands entirely, instead taking you straight to Mordona. There does seem to be life signs coming from the lowlands though, as the timber used to construct Revenant's Toll would most likely come from Fellwood, meaning that it might have survived the calamity. Now for something entirely different. We've covered the guild tests and behests, but now we're looking back at Caravan Escort. Caravan Escort, or Chocobo Escort as it was called by 1.0 players, was an additional activity in Final Fantasy XIV 1.0. This was introduced near the end of Final Fantasy XIV 1.0's life when the Grand Companies were implemented. To unlock Caravan Escort, you'd first have to join a Grand Company of your choice. So what was this Caravan Escort all about? Basically, a maximum of 8 players would band together to join a caravan on its journey from one camp to another. A caravan would depart from each camp in Eorzea every 15 minutes, and its approach was indicated by the Grand Company NPC announcing it in SayChat, at which point you had to approach the NPC and sign up. Once signed up, you had to take your place near the caravan leader, and 3 chocobos, which is where the nickname Chocobo Escort comes from. When joining a Caravan Escort, this UI would appear on your screen indicating what chocobos are in the escort, the time limit, as well as a progress bar showing how far along the route you were, with the camp of origin to the left and the destination to the right. Also worth pointing out that the chocobos had names. Cute. Once the caravan was in motion, it was your job to protect the chocobos from monsters that would appear here and there along the route. Caravans had 2 difficulties, a normal and a harder one. The harder difficulty would appear at random. Each caravan would hold a maximum of 9 packs of cargo. If a chocobo ran away, you would lose a pack. A chocobo would run away if it sustained too much damage. If a chocobo started running away, you would have to run after it and use the various options to return it to the caravan. The options were to either calm it down and to feed it something. The latter restoring the chocobo's HP by a certain amount. And naturally, Caravan Escort had its own theme. The caravan would come to a halt if a chocobo ran away and would only resume when all the chocobos were safely returned to the caravan. If the chocobos did not return in time, the escort would fail. Once the caravan had reached its designated location, usually a hamlet, the duty was complete and you'd be given a reward as well as a chance to be teleported back to the camp where the mission started. The reward would be based on the amount of packs that made it to the hamlet, as well as your participation in the fights. If your participation was low, you would get a warning during the escort mission that you weren't contributing enough, which meant you had to fight harder. The rewards were all company seals, again based on how many packs had survived the mission. During a caravan mission, there would appear random bonus monsters that, when killed, would add bonus seals on top of your original reward. When Final Fantasy XIV transitioned over to 2.0, the system seemed to have been entirely removed. There are no Caravan Escort missions every 15 minutes anymore, but that's not to say it's all gone. Elements of Caravan Escort lives on in the form of escort fates all over Eorzea, some of which look very similar to the classic Caravan Escort missions from 1.0. And with that, we've reached the end of this episode, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a like if you did and subscribe for more. And let's discuss the Caravan Escort missions in the comments. Did you enjoy this content in 1.0? This is a system you'd want back in the current game? And what do you think about the themes I've been playing? I'll be back next week with another episode of Remnants of a Realm. See you then, Eorzeans, and may you ever walk in the light of the crystal.